Did we have any other candidate that I did not have your name down, that may have come in late? If so, we want to make sure that you have ample opportunity. Okay. Before we proceed with the questions, let's give everybody a round of applause. Before we proceed, I have a letter from Mr. Calvin Sherrod. Thank you for the invitation to attend the forum. Unfortunately, due to a prior engagement, I will have to decline. Please accept my sincere apologies. Mr. Calvin Sherrod is running for Ward 4 in Princeville. Greetings. Due to an out-of-town obligation, it is with great regret that I cannot be with you all this evening. Please allow me to share briefly what has led to my candidacy for Commission of Princeville Ward 4. This is from Glenda Lawrence Knight. I've been a citizen of Princeville Ward 4 for the past 15 years. Over the past 25 years, I've served in various community advocate capacities, including serving as Secretary, Vice Chair, and Chair of the Edgecombe County Human Relations Commission, serving as Vice Chair and Chair of Precinct 1-1, and serving as Secretary and Second Vice Chair of the Edgecombe County Democratic Party. These rewarding positions truly prepared me to adequately represent the citizens of Princeville as the next Commissioner for Ward 4. My lifelong commitment is making a positive difference in the lives of children, families, and communities. I'm ready to serve and humbly ask for your support and vote so that we can make a difference together. Again, that was Glenda Lawrence Knight, running for Ward 4 in the town of Princeville. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a group of questions that were geared toward just Princeville. Ms. Jordan is going to ask those, any candidates that are running in the town of Princeville can stand and answer these questions before we move on to the other questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Deborah Jordan. I represent Ward 6, and I'm here to answer these questions for Princeville candidates. How would you explain to citizens if they were asking the town to make a move if you, as the board, is not a good decision for the town? Can you repeat the question, ma'am? Short person syndrome. How would you explain to citizens if they were asking the town to make a move that, as the board, is not a good decision for the town?
If I'm understanding the question correctly, they're referring to the buyout of the town. And if that's the case, we are adamantly opposed to the buyout of the town. However, the commissioners did vote to allow certain people, not certain people, but allow 3 choices: the mitigation, which is the elevation, reconstruction, and the buyout. Of that mitigation, I think we came in with about 190 applications that were for the buyout, and a total of about 300 for mitigation, which included the elevation and the reconstruction. As the state told us in the beginning, there would not be enough money for all the mitigation. They came back in the first round with 49 applications that was approved. Those letters went out last week, and some went out today, letting people know that they were approved for whatever they chose. So at this point, we're talking about the infrastructure for the town buildings. The town buildings are not going anywhere. We have engineers that were in today from the governor's office looking at the buildings. They are in the process of reconstructing those buildings now. But we hopefully, those 15 people that were approved for the buyout, instead of them leaving the town completely, we offer that the 52 acres that will be developed, hopefully they'll be able to choose that instead of leaving the town of Princeville completely. I hope that answers the question.
Reflecting on the buyout, my position on that is that even though the state said it didn't have enough money to cover everybody that was signed up for the buyout. We are aware that there's $1.5 billion in North Carolina's rainy day fund. The people in Florida, the governor, as well as in Texas, they made that rainy day fund available. And I still say that whoever signed up for the buyout should be treated fully without any, how do we say, difference in it. Everybody that signed up should be eligible to apply for the buyout. In other words, we shouldn't be putting so many of them in the ditch and letting some of them stay on the side. That's my position on that.
Anyone else?
You want to answer that?
I apologize, you guys. I want to have 1,000% clarity because Mayor Jones may have answered it in a sense. If you're talking about a physical move as to moving from, or moving out of town, or moving to the 53-acre land when that time comes, then there was questions have been answered. But if you're talking more so about just being informed about a process, I think that we have been very negligent in sharing that information with our citizens. And you know, initially one thing was stated, and then it came back, and they made a decision. The board made a decision to negate one of those options. And so, if you're talking about just being transparent, then the answer 100% would be that we should have more information, and we should give that information out. And of course, if you're talking about the flip side of just having those three options that Mayor Jones mentioned, and that is the answer to that question. So, hope I didn't confuse anything, but I don't know who directed that question or who wrote that question, but that's my input as to that question.
Thank you.
Excuse me, so are they gonna be able to answer to that? Because that was two different questions.
Well, the actual question said,
I didn't understand it myself. It wasn't clear to me.
it said, I would like to know, can you as mayor really keep the town of Princeville from going under?
No, that's not the question. That's not the question.
How would you explain to citizens if they were asking the town to make a move that you as the board does not think is a good decision for the town?
Right.
It didn't necessarily say anything about hazard mitigation. It just said any kind of move that you might decide that you want to make that citizens didn't think you should. How would the board make a good decision for the town? You go ahead and finish those, then I'll do the regular.
These questions that I'm gonna be reading are still for Princeville. Princeville mayor candidates, the flood has caused the town a major setback. If you are elected, what is your vision for Princeville within 5 years?
And all three of you can run at the same time, so you can.
Well, our vision is already in progress, the addition of the 53 acres, but we're not going to stop there. There's an additional 100 acres that we're looking at simultaneously. The engineers are here. They are looking at the 53-acre site now, the development plan. We're also looking at the plan that was designed by the charrette that was here about 5 days, about a month ago. That's where we got all the community to come in, give us their opinion about what the town of Princeville should look like. So we're getting that information. The UNC Chapel Hill is putting it together. They're bringing it back to the board, and we're going to give the final say so. It's going to be a place where more housing is designed. Remember, there's a shortage of housing in eastern North Carolina. And if you recall, we have CSX coming in Rocky Mountain in Edgecombe County. We have the gas line that's been approved, so that means more people coming to North Carolina. And we also have the event center. More people are coming to eastern North Carolina, so if we're in a position to provide housing, that is going to be a benefit for the town of Princeville. One of the things that we want to make sure of is that when we offer these services, that's going to increase our tax base. And that is key for us if we want to we want to be whole. We want to make sure that we have everything that we need within our city limits. In order to do that, we have to increase our tax base. The additional housing, the economic development on the 53 acres, in addition to what we're going to do in our home right now, is going to add to our tax base, which will bring more things to our citizens.
Absolutely. Of course, those things that Mayor Jones said were very factual. We know that they're in the process of hoping that we rebuild back Princeville in terms of making sure those numbers get back up to our population of 2,000. And then, of course, having that extra land annexation of 53 acres that we can put more, not only housing, but affordable housing, because I know it has been a stress on people to go in Edgecombe and Rocky Mountain and other places and probably paying $700 or more in rent. And so, of course, that is a vision that we have affordable housing in our town, bring our population back up, as he said, so we can bring our tax base up. But also, we want to have some downtown revitalization. Like someone said, we want to be like Pine Tops, which I have a lot of family in. And so when Pine Tops, again, where I was from birth to 7, has a downtown area and we don't have one. Pine Tops has a post office and we don't have one. And some things that we really, and Wi-Fi that she mentioned, oh my God, that we can have that in Princeville because we have the same somewhat population. You know, I'm not comparing this Princeville to Raleigh. I'm comparing it to something very comparable in population size and what have you. And so the vision is absolutely what's on the table now, and that we expand what we have in terms of our people, in terms of the money base, in terms of the economic growth, in terms of people being proud to actually be a citizen of Princeville. And regardless of if there is another flood or not, that people say, I want to stay here because it has something to offer me when the rebuilding comes back. Thank you.
Echoing the mayor and Mrs. Big Ben, remember I mentioned something earlier about Agenda 21. If you can go on the internet, this is what it's all about, agenda21.com. Speaking of the resiliency and the economical growth of Princeville, as I mentioned earlier, it has always had an opportunity after a storm or hurricane, but haven't been able to move forward. And I'm thinking that property out there, the 52 acres and the other 100 acres along Shallow Farm Road, we are not planning on leaving Princeville or moving Princeville. We are extending a larger footprint. That is a gold mine out there waiting for it to be developed. And sure, we can have some residents, but we need to concentrate primarily on commercial. Like the gentleman said earlier, Tar Bar isn't what it used to be because they still have that intersection out there, 64 going back and forth. We found out that there are 60,000 people passing Shallow Farm Road every weekend going to the Outer Banks and back and forth. Princeville, if we can plan in one voice, and we are one voice on this board, we are going to ask that instead of putting a lot of houses, yes, some houses, but we need to capture the opportunity to make it a self-sustainable, tax-paying community. If not, we're not going to continue to get this money from the federal and the state and the county. And when you get to that point, you're labeled as a useless entity. And they have a nightmarish plan for any community in America that is a useless community. You need to read that, Agenda 21. And I'd be glad to share the information that will make your hair stand up on your head of what they're planning on doing if you're not a thriving, contributing, got your own tax base. Thank you.
Princeville candidates, if you were already an elected official, what would be your recovery plan?
I think they've already answered that.
They already answered that? That's fine. Okay. Princeville candidates only, what have you done to keep current and, I don't understand this writing, I can't read it, it's a situation.
done to keep current and stay abreast to the Princeville situation? How do you propose to get us back home?
I stay current and abreast with the Princeville situation on a daily basis. I'm in contact with the office on a daily basis. They're in contact with the governor's office and even federal government. We have FEMA representatives in the area all the time, which is a positive thing. And we communicate. We have to understand that this thing about recovery is a collaborative effort. Everybody working together for one common goal. We are making sure that one of our most important things is to, when our citizens come home, they come back whole. This is more than just houses, cars, and clothes. This is about our mental stability when we return, because when we come back, we want to make sure our citizens are joyful. That was the main focus of the Day of Hope. When you come back to a Day of Hope and you see that inspiration that our Reverend brought forward, you see Senator Ingram with her inspiring message. You have to have that along with the physical attributes of the town. You have to come back ready to move forward. You can't come back and close your doors and sit in the house and become frustrated. You cannot become frustrated wherever you are. There's assistance out here. We're here to help, but you just can't hide. We're out here to make sure that when you come back, you have everything that you need in order to move forward, to be better than you were before. And that is our theme for this campaign. Building back bigger, better, and bolder. When you talk about better, you cannot be better if you're struggling mentally and physically.
Thank you. You stand right there, sir, about that. No question.
Is that what you said? Okay. When you talk about being informed, I mean, this is the age of technology, first of all, so anything that we all will be saying, have said, will either be recorded via DCN or any other media here on the front page, on front row, Mr. Bain. But outside of that, I've been in the meetings, I've been at the county commissioners meeting, I've been in recovery meetings, I've been in Princeville meetings. I've been in a whole lot of meetings, and I've been asking some questions that others have not answered. And I've been able to give that information to citizens by the way of the Facebook post, which the mayor himself have shared on several occasions, and being informed about what's going on. And as far as they mentioned, how are we going to get this? How are we going to get citizens back in Princeville? The only way that would happen is that we have to be very diligent and aggressive with government and people who keep saying they're going to do something for Princeville, but have not really made any real movement. There's a lot of talking that's going on, but nobody has really pushed these things forward. And I know a lot of the same people, our FEMA director, Sprayberry, I know our county commissioners, I know county managers, I know our liaison, Joe Dern. And so it's not that this information is so foreign to me as a new candidate. I'm checking things out just like Mayor Jones and anybody else who could read and pay attention to what's going on in our county and then even our town. And so again, I stay with my ears, and when I'm not in the meeting, trust me, I have somebody in the meeting to be sharing that information with me so I can again share it with the citizens. Thank you.
Yolanda, how do you feel Princeville development could move under your leadership?
How do I feel Princeville development can well, for one reason, I didn't mention this in my introduction, but I am a grant writer. I've been writing grants since 2002, and anybody know that a person who writes grants, that means they have to find the grant and then have to write the grant, and hopefully be successful enough to receive that money to do whatever program or initiative that you need. And so that's one of the things that I bring to the table and plan on bringing as it relates to to moving Princeville forward, to working with entrepreneur issues, for seeing what the public needs. And again, I also am a business owner, so I know kind of what it takes to move businesses forward. I know what it takes to market and have clientele and so forth. So that is the goal of Yolanda. Not only Yolanda, but of course working with the current board and a new commissioner, as I believe, will be working towards those goals to help Princeville move forward. So again, because I have the experience as a businesswoman and I have the experience as a grant writer, which we know is key in government, because we don't have to always be wondering where the money's come from, because there are a lot of programs and monies out there that we can apply for. And if we just missed one, I believe that we just missed one through the Edgecombe County just recently, but nevertheless, hopefully we'll be able to pick up some other great things under my leadership.
Bobby, why did you decide to run again, and why do you think the people of Princeville would benefit from voting for you another term?
And I decided to run again because Princeville is my home. I love Princeville. I was born and raised right on the outside of Princeville. When I left at the age of 18, I said I would never come back. But for some reason, after 18 years, I came back. I lived in my mom's home house for about 4 years before the 99 flood. I left, went to Rocky Mount for several years, but I had the calling to come back to Princeville. And as soon as I came back to Princeville, the citizens came to me and asked me to run for mayor. I'm not a politician, but they understood who I was. They understood my desire to help people. And that is my key issue, making sure that this great America that we live in, the American dream is still possible. But we can't sit back and wait for the American dream to knock on our door. We have to go out and make the American dream real for us. And that's what I do on a daily basis. Not only in Princeville, but when I work in the high schools and the elementary schools, I show the children that anything is possible. So when I walk the grounds of Princeville, when I always think about what our forefathers sacrificed for us to make Princeville what it was in 1865. In 1865, in 1885, in 1900s, there were 35 black-owned businesses in the town of Princeville. Today, we may have 15. There's something wrong with that. It is my desire to go back to the town of Princeville and make sure that I do everything that I possibly can in collaboration with our board, in collaboration with our citizens, in collaboration with all the people who are calling from all over the United States to come work with the town of Princeville to make sure that we become self-sufficient and self-sustaining, just like any other town in America. We do not need to leave our borders, our city limits for anything. It does not make sense for us to have to go to across the street or across the bridge to get clothing. It does not make sense for us to go across the bridge to get gas. These are things that we should be able to walk to and get a grocery store, fresh food, and that's what drives me. From the day I walked into the office until right now, my driving force is to make sure that Princeville has everything that it needs in our borders, especially for our senior citizens. It does not make sense. We spend $10 billion every year in the United States of America. Black people. 10 billion. I didn't say million. 10 billion. But we want to support our neighbors next door. There's something wrong with that. We have to have a different mindset. And when we walk that walk and talk the talk, hopefully people catch what I'm talking about and gravitate to what our goals and desires are.
In support and echoing what the mayor has said, once again, I want to go back to all of these things we envisioned to happen in Princeville. One time, Princeville didn't flood as bad as it is now, and this is due to climate change. Climate change means that we have to look at Princeville a little bit different. We can build whatever we need to build to make it resilient and bring it into the millennia. But if you don't do something with that river and that dike, you just throwing money away and ain't nobody coming in there. But that's what we need to do, is to stop sitting back asking the policymakers. We need to unite for one time in our life and demand that you turn that money loose, that $1.5 billion that they're turning them loose in Texas and Florida and other places and other communities. And here we are faced in the middle, I think the 16th of this month, we'll be a year old with that flood, Matthew. And it's time for us to realize ain't nobody gonna come and give you nothing. And if you sit back meekly, waiting and listening, we gotta get together and stand up and demand in one voice. And you do it publicly so that the people, the world, and the states, the country will know Princeville ain't got that shot yet. And that's what you need to do first. And then we can bring these things in and build Princeville up and make it what it was aspired to be, what it was dreamt and visioned to be by our ancestors. And we can become self-sustainable and get off of that radar of Agenda 21. Look it up.
These questions are for the candidates for Kenita Mayor. The first question is, if you are elected, how will you improve the public works and rezoning residential areas for commercial use and attract businesses? So that's three things. How will you improve the public works? How will you do something different with rezoning residential areas for commercial use and attract businesses?
Kenita is fortunate in that we have our own water corporation, which functions well. It has its own independent board that runs it, and we're really fortunate. Our water system, our typical bill is $20 a month. In our local town of Bethel, it's $90 a month for the same amount of water. So with the public works that we have, I think we're doing fine. Now, I'm kind of interested in the internet from Wilson. I think all of us ought to be. We ought to jump on that bandwagon and see what we can do. We do not offer utilities through Kenita. We have 140 residences, so I don't know if that can work or not. We do have a set of zoning ordinances that allow for a process if a commercial business wants to come in and request that a property be changed from residential to commercial. Personally, I believe we need some commercial enterprises in Kenita. We may be small, but every citizen has the same needs, just like Princeville. You know, you ought to be able to go get, a gallon of gas to run your lawnmower, or you ought to be able to go get a loaf of bread without having to travel, and pay more, to pay somebody to take you to Tarboro to get a loaf of bread is a lot of money, much more than just a loaf of bread. And so I think that we have to work on that, and whether it's through the rezoning, whether it's actually working with the properties that are there now, I believe that we're going to get some commercial enterprises there. Attracting business, I don't know that 277 people are strong enough, but I believe that Edgecombe County is strong enough, and that's where us and Princeville and Sharpsburg and all these other little towns have to work together with Edgecombe County to bring that business. Because without businesses, our citizens don't have jobs. We do have about 12% of our population in Kenita that operate below the poverty level. We live in America, the land of the free and the land of capitalism. Nobody should ever go hungry or not have a good roof over their head. So hopefully, we all pull together, 277 strong, we're going to make something happen.
He's not running for mayor.
Oh. This is for the Kenita candidates. Both of you stated that you wanted stores in your town. That's a desire for every town, whether big or small. With only 200 citizens in town, what will you do to recruit businesses to your town? I think she pretty much just answered that, okay?
Ward 7 candidates. Plans to meet all residents of the ward and